Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, internets, and welcome to the Fine Line. This is literally it's been a very long time since the last time I've been streaming any long like proper dev discussions, and with me right now to do some of these dev discussions is Alex Ong, a longtime friend of mine, who has been like, how long has it been? We've been working with. You've been a programmer for like, you were just telling me off out of the stream, like you've been a programmer for like what, 20 years at this point, or at least 19 years and 20 years coming up next year, and you've been a Unity programmer for like 12 of those 19 years. Yeah, it's been a very, very long while, and one big reason why I called on this call with Alex, this discussion with Alex, and just really to jump into it is really to talk about the recent things that have been happening with Unity and all the weird shenanigans that they've been up to, especially leading up to this as well, and why it matters and what it means to a lot of developers and stuff like that. For context, as I mentioned earlier, Alex has been a programmer for like 19 years plus. He's been through a number of programs. He's been through a number of different like transitions and different things like that. So there's going to be a lot of context that I think Alex can bring. It's going to bring to the table, and definitely one of the big reasons why I wanted to have this chat with him. Because hey, if you've been in the industry for so long, I think the big question I can sort of relatively pose to Alex right offhand is like, is this something that has happened ever before? And in terms of like changing, sorry, I really am jumping the gun here a little bit overexcited. I do apologize. It's been a very long time. So I think before we jump into that question, I suppose let's try and build some context, right? So the big shenanigans that's been happening is that Unity has updated their sort of payment policy. I think it's the right way of phrasing it. Would you agree that would be the right way of calling it, like payment policy?
Is the new payment term.
The terms of payment is, I guess, is the right way, huh? All right. So to give everyone a little bit of context, I think as of this point, at least of what has been shared by Unity themselves as of Tuesday, they are doing this whole new payment term where they're going to charge you a flat fee per install, provided that your application that you built with Unity crosses certain thresholds. The thresholds, if I'm not mistaken, was like 1 million. Is it 200,000? Is it 1 million? What was the
Which license that you subscribe from Unity? Let's say we are using the free license, it's 200,000.
Okay, so if you're using a free license, it's 200,000, and what is it? 1 million downloads, 1 million installs.
Install is also 200,000.
Is that it? I have it open up on this site here, so let me try and bring it up. Yeah, I have the table right now, so let me bring it up on screen real quick. So yes, right there is the thing where if it's is it Unity Personal? Right, it's Unity Personal and Unity Plus, right? Yep. That will be using like it's 200,000 revenue threshold in the last 12 months, and install threshold of lifetime install threshold of 200,000, meaning that if 200 users have installed your app, and you've crossed a 200,000 income threshold, you will be liable for this installation fee, right?
Yeah. Runtime fee.
A runtime fee. That's the term they use. Now, I have to ask Alex, and on that note, right? I use the term installation fee. I'm a game designer. I'm not a programmer. How is this different from, say, just saying an installation fee? Is it any different, meaningfully?
Not much different, yeah.
Not much, right?
It's just that for them, they put it runtime is because they claim that it's like every game that built with Unity, they're going to have this small application or small program inside your game, and then this is the program that help you to execute the game, so execute your application. So it's like during runtime, without this small program, your game cannot be launched. So they call this runtime fee.
Okay, there is a very weird thing to be considered from that point, but I guess let's not digress too hard on that. Coming back to the focus, like say for example, coming back to the tiers and everything else. If say for example you're on Unity Pro, that will be 100. It'll be your revenue threshold is 1 million, and then the install threshold is also 1 million, and then whereby from there the rates that are applicable is like 15 cents per install. For the first 1 to 100,000, and then like from 101,000 to 500,000 is like 0.075 cents per install. Sorry, it's 7.5 cents per install, right? Yeah. So so obviously based on this, the higher the package you use, obviously the less you actually have to pay. Is it fair to say that like in a general scheme, this seems to be Unity's attempt at trying to push people to start using like Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise more?
It's actually they're trying to get more people to subscribe to Unity Pro. If let's say you have already reached large amount of download, so it's actually much worth it if you subscribe to Unity Pro.
Okay. I mean, once again, we're just contextualizing it based on this update. I think it's also important to recognize that Unity still has a fee. They say here, hey, there's a fee reduction for the use of Unity services, but there's still a fee. So for context, right, let's look at something that Alex has brought to my attention beforehand. I think this was a screenshot that you took back in, was it 2016? Is it 2016? Yeah, it is 2016. Which is what the price groupings were. So it's like, hey, for personal it was free, there's no credit card requirement, and there's a bunch of things that's there. And then for Unity Plus, it's $35 per seat per month, meaning that I'm assuming that it means that each developer, for every developer on the team, you would need to pay like $35 roughly.
Yeah, every seat, yes.
Right. So how does the personal and Plus like differ from one another?
So the screenshot is 2016, but the system still continue until nowadays. The personal license, every time when we build a game or any application from Unity, the time that you launch this application, you're going to see a Unity splash screen. So before anything else, you're going to see make with Unity, then disappear, then only go into the game that you want to show your company logo, or you want to show the game logo, or any looking thing. So you must show the Unity logo first. That is for free plan or
for the personal one, right? Okay, so I've heard of that one.
The plus one,
yeah, I've heard of
the plus one is to remove the Unity logo.
It's just that it's not that.
The other feature is not really helping much, so it's the $35 is really want to just remove the Unity logo.
Okay, so for those who don't know, right, this honesty is exactly why I like Alex. Like, he's really just like straight to the point and go all the way. But yes, okay, then in that case, then from Plus to Pro, I assume that there's going to be a significant jump in services then, if that's the case, the difference between Plus to Pro.
To Pro, you receive more, the feature that you can access to is the same, but they provide you with more support. So it's like they have this relationship manager.
Okay.
So if you subscribe to a Pro license, you're going to be assigned to a relationship manager, and then this guy is going to do his best to keep relationship with you, like sometimes give you some discount on your subscription, and then if you face any problem, you can directly ping to him. And then I think in their plan they also mentioned that they promise to get back to you within 24 hours.
Okay, so it actually says you will get 24-hour, like, hey, if you ask me a question today at 3 p.m, you're going to get an answer by tomorrow 3 p.m kind of thing.
Yeah, if you subscribe the enterprise, I think it's 8 hours or 4 hours, I don't remember. So it's shorter response time.
Okay, so basically they're saying that the more you pay, the faster, like the more attention we're going to give you, like, it's the short answer. I think that's the fair way of looking at it, right? Yeah, okay, cool. But yeah, so with that in mind, I think looking back at like this announcement that Unity has brought up and how like the thresholds for revenue and installs and stuff like that, I don't think there's been any announcement on any actual adjustments to these packages either, right?
Yeah, I don't see any.
I haven't seen anything like that. So all that has been announced is really just that, hey, as far as we know, and the publicly available information is, hey, we're going to charge you now for installs, and this is like additional charges that you're going to incur, without any adjustments to the existing packages. That's as far as we know.
The existing one is they're going to remove the Plus licensing.
Oh, they're actually going to remove Plus as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So from next year onward, they're going it's going to remaining to have the Personal, Pro, and the Enterprise. So
Personal, Pro, and Enterprise, which is exactly what we saw in that sort of breakdown in the in sort of the eligibility thing. So yes, Unity Personal and Unity Plus are grouped together, but Unity Plus, they're basically going to expire. So all that's left is Unity Personal, Unity Pro, and Unity Enterprise.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so
means that right now, if you want to remove the Unity logo, you must get the Pro license.
Is that the Pro license or nothing else?
No.
Okay, so that actually clears up something that I was very curious about, because I did read there were a number of people who were arguing over the Unity Plus. I assumed that there was more to it than just that, but it does sound like, given the kind of pricing differences between the tiers, right? Like $35 a month to $125 a month is actually a pretty big difference, right? It's like $90 a month, and that's USD after all, right? Mm-hmm. So for any sort of mid-range developer, that is an overhead that they have to count in for every programmer they have, or every member of the developer team that they have.
Every developer.
Right.
Not just programmer.
Right. Exactly. So the gap is basically right now, if you're using Unity, you're going to move from instead of last time where it would be free to $35, and then from $35, if your team scales up, you're going to go to $125. You go straight from free to straight up $125.
Now no longer $125, because what you're referring is 2016.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
What is it now?
It's $185.
Oh, it's even worse. All right, fantastic. Congratulations for like the. I have to put a huge disclaimer here. I'm smiling, I'm laughing, but it really is just me being morbidly like, holy shit, I don't know how else to respond. Because I'm a member of the games industry as well, and I know for some projects this is just scary as crazy. Like, this is crazy for a lot of mid-range projects. I think, and I really just want to paint that scenario, like what the changes are, right? And from this description alone, it seems very much that like anyone who is looking at being a mid-range developer right now, you either go from a free app, like basically going from using a free app to basically paying $185 per month to even just accommodate, like just to do things proper, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So I think the jump is pretty high. Like, I know in the grand scheme of like people earning, like everyone likes to think about like their apps earning millions and millions of dollars, but I think in the grand scheme of things, a jump like this is pretty significant for most people.
A lot of indie developers actually, they don't mind that at the splash screen you see Unity logo, because it doesn't really harm anything. So most of the time, why want to remove the Unity logo is because the project involve other investment, or the project actually is funding by another company. So all these companies, they don't want to see other company logo appear in the game.
Right.
So that's why I need to upgrade and then remove the logo.
So I mean, on that note, like I do want to bring up like some of the caveats that Unity has brought up, and in part of this really highlight some of the problems of how they've approached this. It's like since the announcement on Tuesday, a lot of people have been complaining and a lot of questions have been raised. Obviously, one big thing was about how the installs are counted, right? Yeah, because like one of the things that people were bringing up was how, hey, if I in 1 month, if I had like a lifetime install of if a lifetime install of 200,000, and then like 1 month I go from like for example, like exactly at like 11 months, within 11 months, right, I earn $190,000, and then just so happened on the 12th month I earn like $1 extra from the threshold, which means that I hit like $201,000. I will suddenly have to pay for all the lifetime installs that I have, which is like that 200,000, right? Like that's basically
no. It start counting once you pass the threshold.
Okay, but yeah, but that's the clarification, right? That was done later.
Yeah, that's later. Yeah.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, when they first announced it, they said it was retroactive.
Yeah, when they first announced it, it's a lot misinformation, and then even so, I went to their official website. The explanation also different if you now visit the same webpage again.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was exactly the thing that was sort of highlighting like how bad the communications are, because like we were hearing in the beginning that it was going to be retroactive, so people would be like suddenly, oh, I was going fine, my company's in the green for like 6 to like 11 months, and then suddenly I hit those thresholds, and then I'm suddenly going to be like in the red all over again, like out of the blue, right? Yeah, so I think there was like huge issue that for some reason was not addressed in any of the initial communications, and it took I mean, to Unity's credit, they did respond within a day, like within 24 hours they like updated with a bunch of FAQs and stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken, the blog that I'm referring to specifically like had an update that that actually said like, hey, this came out September 13th, right? And when they announced this was September 12th, which was Tuesday itself. So yeah, so to Unity's credit, they were quite responsive to it, but it's crazy how a change of this scale was not thought through and like communicated properly, like right from the get-go.
Based on I'm hearing from other Unity developer. So, not how to address this. Unity developer like me is we develop using Unity, but now I'm referring is the developer that in Unity company.
Sure. Okay. So in Unity, in the Unity developers themselves, yes. The guys who are developing Unity itself, yes.
Yeah. The developer of Unity, I heard from them is they actually already understand the whole new payment term. It's just that they couldn't talk about it. And then when on Tuesday, when the company announced it and they go and read it, and they also find it is easily get people misunderstand.
Right.
So when you go to all the Facebook forum or Facebook group, right, they actually the developer actually can come out and say that this is different from what we understand from the official announcement from inside the company. So I think it's the person that preparing all this material have maybe do it.
Somebody needs to get fired for that shit.
Yeah, not good enough for us to understand. So I think it's not the scenario that Unity heard a lot of noise and suddenly they change. No,
okay.
It should be they already thought of all this. It's just that when this whole system or whole payment method comes to the I'm not sure if
the
this is
PR side of that,
or
yeah,
which department.
PR side of
when
things.
they announce it, it's like they also announce it with
Right.
misleading information.
Right. Okay, so here's the funny thing, right? And I'm sorry, I should probably mention this since we're going into some element of this where we are talking about the internal discussions and the ramifications of what has come up and things like that. We haven't really painted some of the scenarios, but I do want to get into that a little bit more. But I do want to highlight that one of the latest news, just to set the tone a little bit, one of the latest news is that Unity has closed a couple of the offices because of death threats from, I assume, developers or affected developers as a result of their latest update. I want to highlight that, hey, we're going to be talking smack about Unity a lot, and no one's happy about what's going on. But at the same time, we really just can't condone violence. I should, however, add to it that I feel for every developer that has been very negatively impacted by this thing. I understand, and I've definitely heard stories about how there are some projects that have been in the works for anywhere between 3 to 4 years, and when this thing changes like that for them, like for small and sort of private developers, this change can really basically mean whether the project is even viable anymore, right? So I can completely understand that level of anger and frustration, and if anything, the hatred that some people have towards this move, because there's a lot of trust involved in this process, and it's just horrible when these kind of things are just suddenly dropped on you. I just want to highlight that that's a thing, but at the same time, it really doesn't mean that we're okay with that violence and all that death threats and all that kind of stuff. I understand where it comes from. It's just that there is a line that I feel like we as developers especially really should not cross, or we as people in general really should not cross. Yeah. So coming back to the point that Alex, you were saying about how like internally they knew about it, and they some of it was expressed and like they understood it better than how it was communicated to us. I actually do want to mention something, but I can't find the article for some reason. I do apologize, because I remember reading the article somewhere that there is currently a wave of resignations from within Unity simply because of how bad this has been dealt with. A lot of long-time Unity supporters and developers have like literally said that this is going to be... Internally, they've been saying that this was already a bad move. Although they understood it, and especially since they understood it, they've been saying that it was a bad move and they really, like, this is not good for Unity and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. Like, this is just genuinely bad for Unity. And some of them, like, were holding on hope that someone would change their minds, but apparently no one did. And it was announced, and, like, some of them are putting, their pride, like, basically, they're putting their professional word on the table, basically, like basically saying, hey, we warned you, if you do this, we cannot stand by this, and I'm resigning, I'm quitting, and things like that. So from what I heard, I was reading this article, and some of them were saying, like, from some of the Unity inside internal Unity developers, that they have every plan of, like, throwing letters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can feel that also, because we very close our neighbor company Singapore, that there's a Unity office,
right?
So, and then there is a lot of Malaysian working there.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I know a few friends that previously working there, so more actually can really tell that people join the Unity team is really love the product. Because when Unity first released, they actually released Unity 1, and then Unity 1 is only can run on web, so it's a web based, and then slowly we see it evolve into Unity 2, and then slowly become Unity 3 is the one that really kicked off, and then most people heard about it. So, and then Unity 4, Unity 5, so we see it grow, and then also it actually start with a free subscription. So means that when they first start, they also let you free, and then before they go listing, they also like we really want to developer to success. And at that time, that moment is so difficult to get a good game engine.
Yeah.
So to get everyone work on the same product, because that time a lot of studios having their own engine, having their own tools. So people, those Malaysians that went to Singapore to join the company really see that, oh, this is something that going to change the industry. This is something that can help the industry grow. This is something that can make develop game faster, better game going to produce. So that's why they join the team. So that's why I think I can feel them why they reselling is they really care about the product. They are not the employee that just want to go there, get salary, and do whatever you tell them to do.
Basically they joined believing in the mission that Unity was supposedly standing for at the time, right? So I mean, here's the I mean, full disclaimer also on my own end. I've been in Singapore. I'm based in Singapore nowadays, and I've been in Singapore for the last 4 to 5 years. And in my time here, I've got to know some people from Unity as well. I forgot to mention that in the start of this. Once again, a little too excited. I'm really out of practice. I really should do this better. But yeah, I do know people within Unity as well, and I've not reached out to any of them to do this call, especially because I do think that this actually is probably a very difficult time for a lot of them. I do think that this is not an easy time for a lot of them, because it really doesn't sound like it would be. You know, like if I'm inside the office right now, I would probably be like either A, trying to figure out my own future with the company, or B, like screaming at the bosses, going like, if I have the relationship, screaming at the bosses, like, when was this agreed on? Like, who the heck wrote this, and what the hell did you, like, you know, that kind of thing, right? So anyone who's in the higher ups with any decision making process is probably busy trying to do damage control. Anyone at the lower side is like starting to, like, as you say, like, this is not the company I joined, right? Okay. So I on that note, I actually want to highlight. It's a very funny thing because before the stream, I was talking to you a little bit about. I did mention something about the Dungeons and Dragons fiasco that happened earlier this year as well. And there was one line that you were mentioning to me just now, that story about how people back in the day when before Unity, right? When was that? Like 20? Was it in the 2000s already, or is it like late 1990s kind of thing?
Before Unity is about 2010. Because I was looking at the start of Unity. Apparently they said it started in like early 2000s, but I assume that like the version that we know, the one that Unity 3 that you were saying, right, didn't show up until like 2010, right? So just as a point of reference, so like you were saying about how like before that time, every studio had their own engine going, every studio had their own thing going, so game development was like all over the place. There's a very little sharing of knowledge and information, and I think development just made it a lot more, like, it became very difficult for you to become a developer because of the things you need to know before you started, right? So Unity came in and said, hey, this is a centralized one that a lot of people can use, and it made it just that much more easier and approachable. I will, small side note, I will argue against I will argue on the side that it's also led to a lot of trash games in the market, but I guess we all have to learn somehow. I'm not gonna go into deep on that, but yeah. So I wanted to mention about something on the D&D side of things, which is really, really funny because Dungeons and Dragons had a very similar issue. So in terms of games, right, Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop game, the rule book for Dungeons and Dragons is sort of like an engine, right? And they had the exact same problem earlier this year, where what happens is Wizards of the Coast, which is the publisher for the Dungeons and Dragons rulebook, right? They came up and said, oh hey, and sorry, I need to, and it came up and did a bunch of changes to their sort of rulebook use policies.
And how this matters is because what happens is that all this while when Wizards of the Coast did publish their Dungeons and Dragons manuals and stuff like that, there's more history, by the way. I'm just doing a very abridged version. Dungeons and Dragons like history and stuff like that. They said, hey, these are our rules for the game. You can use these rules for the game for everything that you want to make. That means you can make your own game using these rules. You can make your own stories using these rules. You can make your own campaigns using these rules. And we won't take any royalty from you. We won't take anything from you. There'll be no charge or nothing. You can make money off this, as long as like you don't change anything, you know, that kind of thing. And then like and as long as you don't take and alongside with that, there's this bunch of copyrighted material that if you wanted to, you can use, but you have to credit us and all these kind of things, you know, like you have to use it within a specific guideline and things like that. By the way, everything I'm saying here, massive asterisks here, because I'm oversimplifying things. There's a lot of nuance in this process. So what happens is they've prepared this kind of thing and everything else, and people believe them for a very long time. And then what happens is that there are a lot of businesses that came out as a result of this. A lot of people supported Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of people created campaigns, created stories, created content online, created like supplementary rulebooks, created like produced dice, produced figurines and all that kind of stuff, all using the same D&D rules, right? So basically, very similarly saying that, hey, I trust the TNCs that you've set up with this Dungeons and Dragons rulebook, and we're going to go with it, and we're going to make our living based off these rules that you have set up for us. As a result of that, Dungeons and Dragons became super duper popular. It became the biggest tabletop RPG game like in the world, right? In fact, most of us only know Dungeons and Dragons. Most of us don't even know the smaller ones, right? And I think the same can be said to Unity to some degree. Unity became very, very popular because they basically said, hey, this is a very easy to use program, and we're going to promise you that as long as you pay for our fees and things like that, you can use this indefinitely. You can earn as much money as you want, and you don't have to look back, right? But this change is basically a massive change to those terms and conditions. Yeah, and funnily enough, even within Wizards of the Coast, when the Dungeons and Dragons thing came up, right? Like a lot of people came out and said, people who were working in Dungeons and Dragons came out and said, yeah, we warned the higher ups that this was going to be a bad move. This is not good, and everybody was like just up in arms and everything. It's literally a 1-for-1 situation right now. Yeah. So, and I was telling Alex in one of our pre-sessions, like I was like, it's really, really dumb how effectively the same scenario has happened twice in the same year. And I was like it's clear that no one in Unity plays Dungeons and Dragons. No one in the higher ups of Unity plays Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, man. On that note, I want to segue into one thing that I want to ask Alex about very specifically, because I did mention this and for you to ask you of your opinion as well. It is a matter of trust. I think a lot of developers have brought this issue about how this change in TNCs, this change in the payment form, right, is a betrayal of trust. Do you agree with that perspective yourself as a programmer?
Sometimes you can say that it is really the trust you lost trust on the product, but I think more is because trust sometimes is a feeling. So feeling means it's really sometimes very objective. So let's say we don't talk about the feeling. Let's to be practical is when I want to decide which technology I want to learn. Let's say I want to learn a new technology. So I definitely compare different similar technology on the market, and then to see which one have higher advantage on my scenario. So I'm going to choose it. Or as a company, when I want to start a project, I also going to compare all these game engine or tools that or wherever, so see which one is more suitable for me to use it. So now the problem is the time that I'm comparing, I have decided that Unity is a better choice. But what happened is after I make this decision, like let's say 6 months later, then now you release a new payment term and found that, oh shit, so if I know this early, I won't choose Unity. I might choose it offers a competitor or another tool. So that's actually make me fall into a very difficult position. It's either make me wasted my time, or the worst is actually make me lose all my investment for these 6 months.
Right.
So this would be a direct damage to the person rather than a feeling like lost trust.
I suppose that's absolutely fair. Like strictly speaking, like the impact to any financial model that a project can have, right, is not smaller. Especially, like, I know everyone thinks like 2 cents per install doesn't seem like much, and if you're selling your game on a premium game system, right, like say for example, like if you're selling on Steam at say $5 a pop and things like that, your impact is probably not going to be really big. To that note though, I probably need to do a quick aside on that one, which is why like a lot of complaints, a lot of concerns that have been raised in the game dev from this side here, right, of the premium game section, is an issue with piracy and an issue with like demos and pre-installs and things like that, right? Yeah, so I think that issue in particular, these 3 issues in particular, is worth noting that like it's been in the industry for a very, very long time. No one has been able to very consistently be able to weed out piracy. So ultimately, you are probably going to track more installs than the devs are actually getting paid for. And then things like demos and trials are always going to be an issue because you now need to suddenly flag out the different builds and different versions of it. My understanding is that Unity, while they say that they are going to assist with these kind of situations, have not realistically given any like answer to how they're going to do it.
So I think two things you are mentioning. I think one is the privacy. Privacy, we talk about it later because privacy is another big topic, which is related to the company called IronSource.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because they bought over, they acquired IronSource.
Right.
So the privacy one is related to the IronSource.
Okay.
So we talk about that later.
All right. Okay, let's talk about IronSource later.
Now you mentioned about the install.
Yeah.
So the current problem about this in charge based on install is, let's say when we prepare a product, so we always need to predict how much is our expenses,
right,
how long we need to develop, so how many manpower,
yeah,
and then what software we're going to use, how much, which licensing we have to pay. So at the end, we roughly can estimate how much we need to spend, right, for this product. And then next step is we want to estimate how much we can earn from this product.
Right.
So from there we see that let's say we get 1,000 downloads, so 100,000 downloads, so maybe only 1% of the user actually paying, let's say in premium model. So it's only 1,000 player is paying, and then each player they need to spend how many dollars so that we can get back our investment, then only start into profit. So with all this calculation, so that we can judge whether we should invest into this product or not. This
right,
product is worth to kickstart or not.
Right.
Okay. So this is a normal procedure. So but now the problem comes in here is this new payment term make us difficult to estimate,
right,
our expenses.
Right.
Okay. So why is because it's based on install.
Right.
And then previously when we calculate per player what is the ARPU. So it's like how much we can earn from one
right.
player.
So for those who don't know, ARPU is ARPU, which is average revenue per user, right? Yeah.
Let's say I can earn $1 from one user.
Correct.
Okay, this is the target we want to achieve.
Yeah, and keep in mind, obviously, we're talking about averages, meaning that that means that if in 10 players, let's say for example, in based on Alex's example, that means out of 10 players, one of those players should at least spend $10. Then we will get our $1 ARPU, which is yeah.
So from the $1, then we know how to deduct our expenses.
Correct.
The problem now is this one player.
Yeah.
Okay. Not only the expenses we might spend is 20 cents, right?
Right.
One is all.
Yeah.
So now if this one player, it might not just 20 cents because when this player play on iOS, he need to pay 20 cents. We need to pay 20 cents.
Yeah, correct.
And then he use the same account.
Yeah.
Play on Apple device.
Right.
We pay another 20 cents.
Right. Correct.
And then he has another Android device. He play on that device. We have to pay another 30 cents.
Right.
So and somehow if he forgot about the phone password or go to the phone to reset factory.
Right.
Because Unity already claimed that reinstall doesn't charge.
Right.
But as a tech, we are in the industry. We know that if you put your phone into reset back to factory setting, they got no way to identify you are reinstalled.
Because everything is like all the data is gone and stuff like that, right?
A new install again.
Right.
So from there we couldn't predict that how much this specifically player we have to spend on him. So it might so then it's really difficult for us to judge that whether it's worth to invest into the product or not.
Right. And I think it's worth noting also as well, like the example that you gave complicates any product that tries to do sort of cross-platform support. Like every extra platform that you try to support, it's only going to make it worse.
Even same, even you don't do cross.
Yeah.
Some users actually have two Android phones.
Right, correct.
Same platform, and then they actually use, because for us to identify them to get back their save file, they most likely like using Facebook login, Instagram login, or using Google Play login.
Right.
So for us, they are actually same player, same account, but for the runtime fees, they actually charge twice.
Right, and
they install on two devices.
Right, and this is the part I want to actually chime in as well, because I'm a live ops guy. I've been doing live ops games for a very, very long time myself. The fact is, like, if you've ever published a gacha game in your life, right, you realize that like players like to re-roll their accounts. Yeah, so every player that tries to re-roll their accounts directly will cost the company money. So the funniest thing I've seen some people talking about is like me and my juniors were talking about is like you literally can sit down and basically like rack up a bill for any company you don't like by just like re-rolling your account. Yeah. The Unity already released an announcement. If this happens, they're willing to sit down with you to identify out all these accounts. But how?
Yeah, how we don't know.
How, right?
Okay, how now if you want to look, how then we move into the privacy section.
Oh, but okay, so sorry. Before we go into the privacy one, I want to highlight one small thing though. The re-rolling thing is not out of malice. I think it's worth noting that there's some people who will do it out of malice, obviously. But the re-rolling thing is not out of malice. It is done out of a place, right, where people just genuinely like, hey, I don't like my thing. I want to try and just re-roll stuff because hey, it's a thing. Like it's actually a behavior that's part of the whole gacha experience and everything. So this definitely just complicates that experience, right?
So maybe it ends up that because all this policy come out, then developer have to find ways to overcome it. So maybe end up right. We always show a pop-up to inform a player, hey, you don't need to format. We provide you a button for you to delete your delete entire history and then let you play as a new player, new account again, but you don't uninstall.
Reset the account, right? Reset the account.
Yeah, we help you to reset account. You don't need to uninstall and then set your phone back to reset the factory setting.
I do
help you.
I do want to ask on that note though, like, do you think that as a result of that, right, like developers will just straight up say like, like, hey, you're only allowed to download this app once in your life.
There is already some studio put announcement on that. They actually inform their community, if you like our game, please buy it, don't install it.
Okay, anyway, so yes, let's go into the piracy issue that you were talking about. Yes.
Because why they mention that it is because they have the statistics, they have the data. It's
Right.
like they're selling the game on Steam.
Yeah.
You also notice there's a lot of players. Their Steam library has 100 games and only 10 games they play.
Yes.
So that's why the developer actually tell the community, hey, you want to support us, right? You download is fine, you buy is fine. If you know that you are not going to play, don't install it. Because when you install it, we have to pay.
Okay, so I do want to do a quick aside on that. We have to pay those 3 words. We have to pay. So there's 4 words. Sorry, those 4 words a little bit. We'll go into the piracy one because I know we've ping pong on that one a little bit. It is a topic about who pays. I do want to talk about who pays. Because we were looking through the TNCs, I was going through the TNCs, and it's worth noting that Unity very specifically mentions that it is the person who is distributing the runtime that is paying, right? So for developers that engage with a publisher, this effectively means that the publisher is the one that's going to be paying, not the developer that's going to be paying.
Yep. Correct.
Yeah, but
at the end, it go back to the developer.
Right, but that I mean, I know it'll trickle back to the developer because the publishers are going to go like, hey, this is going to be an overhead cost for us, and we are going to like figure out how we're going to split this, and somebody has to fork up the bill, and it's going to affect the bottom line for the developers at the end of the day, unless the publishers are somehow like super generous and said that, yeah, I'm just going to suck up this fee for you, which I don't think any publisher is going to accept, right? Yeah, but I think you brought up a very pertinent issue here because, like, the publishers don't all have Unity accounts.
Yeah, no.
So
publisher might not have Unity account, or might not.
Right.
Unity also might not have their contact at all.
Correct. So basically putting it, it's like publishers. It's like Unity says that we're going to bill the guy who's distributing your program. But the problem is that the guy who's distributing your program might not be affiliated to Unity, and like, how might that work? Is that even possible to work?
Yeah, possible. So do you know how is the term? I forgot the auto build system.
Okay.
So let's say you have the game, and then you can have a system that automatic help you generate a build, and then automatic help you upload to the App Store, and then automatic release it.
Right.
Yeah. So all these auto build system, Unity also have their own developed system like that. So the well-known one we actually use is Jenkins or something like GitHub. GitHub also have their own.
Okay.
So Unity have this auto build system. So I believe they also would like to convince the publisher to use the auto build system. Because we noticed that after this new feed in, and then a lot of other service that actually lower down the price and give it free. So this is one of the service that's going to give it out free or lower down the price. So means that I want to convince you, like if let's say you don't use the system, means that me as a developer, I develop the game, and then I need to generate a build.
Right.
And then I need to pass the build to the publisher. Then the publisher distribute it. So now what we can have is, you please everyone come into our system, and then we buy everything. The developer actually upload the code to this auto build service, and then the auto build automatic generate the build for publisher, and automatic help them upload to Steam, upload to Google Play Store, Apple App Store.
Right. So this is exactly
with this service, then they manage to collect the publisher information. Okay,
so basically this is what they talk about, like when you were talking like fee reduction for use of Unity services on their blog, right? This is what you're talking about, and the long-term goal that you believe that Unity is trying to do, right, is to try and create this closed ecosystem that they will be fully in control of. Yeah, where both publishers and developers are sort of locked into this ecosystem. Is at least what you're saying? What I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like make a system that's so convenient that we're going to keep using it.
I mean, I suppose that's a good thing. Like, as in, that is a good intent.
Yeah, should be considered a good intent. But people that really don't want to have contact with the Unity, then the publisher will ask you, I don't want to use that. You just provide me a build. We're going to distribute it.
Right. So then, and if that is the case, if that's a call from Unity side, right? Sorry, if that's a call from a publisher side, right? Will Unity have any way to potentially track this?
They can track it. It's just that not sure how they're going
to build the publisher as well.
Yeah, build to the publisher. Definitely, they can track it. It's just that now I know that this is a publisher from, let's say, Brazil.
Right.
So how I send my build to this company at Brazil, ask them to pay me.
Right. Yeah, so that's definitely, I think, one of the massive question marks that clearly Unity has not come up to say how they're exactly going to do it. We have no visible information on this, and I guess only time will tell if this is even feasible or not. Yeah, before we go into actually, I think talking about a piracy issue is relevant to this, which is there was an example that you were showing me about how, like, hey, it's about the cost per install versus like profits, and how there can be a potential case where the net gain of a studio, right, is zero. Like, Unity will just eat up all its profits, right? Like, what was the exact like math that you were sharing with me earlier?
It's actually from a post from another game studio. They actually they make 1 million. Okay, they make 1 million, and then they have 10 million downloads. Okay, that 10 million downloads, so means that already passed the threshold.
The 1 million one, right?
Yeah, the 1 million one. And so, and the 5, and then they actually pass the revenue threshold after 5 million downloads.
Right. So there's 5 million downloads that they have to pay for.
Yeah, so there's
5 million installs.
5 million downloads. Yeah, install they have to pay for.
Right.
So from 5 million, if let's say the 5 million you use 20 cents.
Yeah.
It's already 1 million.
So it's $1 million dollars. So even if your profit was 1 million, like, from that thing, right? Because this is not a revenue share, this is not a percentage revenue share, you have to pay for that 5 million downloads, and that 5 million download and installs, right, effectively would become 1 million already on the spot.
Yeah.
Right.
But definitely this company is not using the free plan, the personal plan.
Right.
So they are not paying the
20 cents. Yeah, right.
So they're actually paying the 1.75 billion.
If it's enterprise, if it's Unity Pro is 0.15. Oh wait, no. Sorry. If it's Unity, it's 0.3. Oh wait, it's beyond 1 million, right? It's beyond 1 million. You
need to slowly calculate up.
Oh yeah, it's a tiered system.
Yeah, it's a tier. So you really slowly calculate up. So
right.
So it's 100,000 of 100,000 of 50 cents, and then another 400,000 of 7.5 cents,
right.
And then another 500,000 of 3 cents.
Right. Okay.
So after you calculate up, it's definitely less than 1 million. It's just that the point is, it's not they give all the earning back to you. Because it's based on gross revenue, means that they not yet deduct their expenses.
Correct.
They not yet deduct all the main count, all the salary.
Correct. And this is also
so it might end up that those profit actually not revenue, those profits go into Unity.
Right. And it's also worth noting, like, even cases like I'm not sure whether this is clear, but like, does the math include like the profit share that like the platforms will take. Like say for example, I think Google Play takes like 30%, was it, or something
Google
like that.
Play now 15.
15%. All right. So
yeah, if we don't earn a lot, I forgot the threshold also.
Yeah. Okay. So clearly, like different platforms have their own one, but like that is that in the like that's not even inclusive of like Google Play's own like cut of it, right? Like obviously because it's a flat per install, it would just straight up be like, hey, I don't care what's going to happen to you. You lose money, you gain money. How much you gain per hit, whatever, I don't care. You're just going to pay me this 20 cents per install, right?
After you have that.
After you hit those thresholds.
The threshold, the revenue threshold.
Yeah, so I think this is exactly like the heart of the big problems for a lot of like mid-range developers, because there are going to be a number of people that's going to fall in that space where as a company, like the weirdest thing I think is worth noting is like the companies that fall in that space are companies that are growing, like going to be big kind of thing. And you suddenly feel like you're super capped. Like you can't grow beyond, you shouldn't grow beyond this point, because to grow beyond this point suddenly requires a lot of effort if you're working with Unity. I think that difference, I think that point is worth noting.
Most of the developer I believe is mobile game developer, because this a new payment method is really hurt the premium product.
Yeah.
So for premium market, we actually want to reach out as many players as possible.
Right.
Because we believe that if let's say just 1% of the player is paying, then we can slowly build up the revenue based on the 1%. So we try to reach out as much player as possible. So but right now the reach out player means that we need to have more install. So and then if the install actually costs us no matter 20 cents or 2 cents, means that every time we try to reach out, we also need to spend.
Right. Yeah. So I was saying
Usually when we want to reach out, we already need to spend, like we need to do our marketing.
Right. Exactly.
We need to pay all the ads, so that our ads going to appear in Facebook, appear in YouTube.
Right.
So it means that beside all these costs, we still need to think about this runtime cost.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to some people also as well, like very specifically. In effect, what this means is that for any small to mid-time developer, right, who's trying to expand their reach and their app's reach, or their popularity of their projects and things like that, right? Like this effectively is a additional cost for your conversions. Like every time you get a new your marketing is doing well, you suddenly have to pay extra money as a result. Like this is you already pay for every converted user, now you have to pay more per converted user in effect, right? Yeah, but I wasn't even, this is the scary part, by the way, I wasn't even thinking at the time how the books were balanced. When I was saying that, right, I wasn't even thinking at the time about how the books are going to be balanced, because I really did completely forget that like there's this crazy aspect of it where, hey, yeah, like for any apps that are not aggressively monetizing, things that are not like in a way like gacha games or stuff like that, where are not aggressively monetizing, right? You suddenly get the feeling that you need to have some level of aggressive monetization. Otherwise, your player acquisition is going to eat into your profits so badly, right, that you're not going to have any profits. So I think that gets really scary. Yeah. So so let's go back to the big. Before we continue, I do want to shout out to anyone who's watching. If you have any questions, there is a form in the comment section below. There's a link to a form in the comment section below. If you have questions, please feel free to fill up that questionnaire, that form to just ask questions. I am looking at the responses. I don't have any questions right now so far, so I'm just going to continue talking with Alex for a while. We're going to do this for another half an hour, and if there's no other things, we're just going to end it here tonight. But yeah, but if you do have any questions, feel free to leave it in there, and we'll try and get back to you guys about it. On a small side note, I realized that my camera is lagging, and I'm not sure why. I suspect there's something wrong with my PC. I'm very scared of my PC right now. My PC has not been doing well. am worried that my PC might just burn out. But hopefully it doesn't, and we can last till the end of the stream. All right. So with that said, so yeah, guys, if anyone have any questions, please drop it into the question form in the comment section. Sorry, in the description of this video. If you don't, it's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. But yeah, thanks. Anyway, Alex, yes. So let's go on. The next one. You mentioned about piracy, and you wanted to talk about, is it IronSource, right?
Yeah, IronSource.
Yeah, let's talk about IronSource.
So when we talk about IronSource, piracy is we always doubt how Unity is going to track the install.
Right.
Right. So and then today, just now I went to their Q&A website specifically for this runtime fee. They have a new Q&A question.
Oh, is it on the? It's on the Q. Sorry, yes, I'm on the Q&A page. Let me just do a quick transfer. So, which one specifically are we looking at?
I share you the link.
Yes, I'm on it.
You're on it.
Yeah,
and then there is.
We're on it.
One that is collecting the install data, UDR, PR, and CCPA compliant.
Right, and so the answer here they gave here is the method we are using to calculate installs is currently derived from aggregate data from various sources collected in compliance with all privacy laws and used to build confidence around our estimate. If anything changes, we will provide you with notice and compliance mechanisms to ensure all parties remain in compliance with applicable laws. Please note, we will always work with our customers to ensure accurate billing. It's not a yes. It doesn't look like it's a yes. Because I think if it was a yes, it would have just been a yes.
If not mistaken, yes. Yesterday I go to the same page. This question is not there.
Right.
So this question is newly added.
Right. Right.
So means that they will do their best to do this, but as a developer, we actually sometimes also struggling how to we identify user. Let's say a user that doesn't use Facebook login, all the social media login, and he doesn't use the platform login. Platform login will be the iOS user, the Google Play user. So if they don't use all these login, right, it's really difficult for us to identify a user. So it means that we don't know who are you. Because of all this privacy stuff, we are really difficult to track, and then we cannot get like device ID or anything.
Right. With good reason. With good reason.
Yeah. So, but for them, I think they can do is also because they mentioned that they have this technology that keep continue building, and then now they confident can do it. I think they actually, I believe they're going to utilize the technology that owned by the IronSource.
Could you be more specific with what this technology is?
So IronSource is ad mediation company.
Okay.
Okay, so means that they provide ad for us. So as a developer, we go to we integrate their API, and then they help us to get the advertisement. So during that moment, which advertisement is at the best price, so they help us to get the advertisement, then we show it inside the game. Okay, so and is it somewhere last year they acquired this company. So that I think also related to the trust issue is when they announce they have acquired this company, already have one rate of developer leave Unity. Reason is they don't like this this action.
They don't like IronSource, and they don't like the fact that they acquired. Okay, the fact that they acquired IronSource is
the reason is you can go Google IronSource. They actually get famous because of malware.
Right. I think I read it somewhere as well, because when I was looking up information, more context about like what Unity has done and everything that was going on, like IronSource did show up as a topic of conversation, and they did mention about how IronSource effectively developed malware before they got acquired. Exactly how the details of the malware wasn't very specific in the articles I've read, but it did seem clear that they weren't exactly the most honest type that you would have a lot of trust and confidence in.
So that is the first wave of people lost trust, and then back to here is, I believe IronSource also already developed a lot of this technology on tracking, on how to identify user. So maybe now Unity is going to use back whatever they already good at on doing all the ads to use on to identify on all this unit install.
Okay. Yeah, I think so I think what I do want to ask about though, specifically in the case of IronSource, and what this has this seems to be inferring to, right, is that I've seen some articles talking about it right now where they're saying that alongside with what we were saying earlier about how they want to try and make this sort of integrated ecosystem, right, where people cannot get out and it's it's within its own kind of thing, is that they want to try and shift people into using services like Unity LevelPlay and all that kind of stuff. There's rumors saying that they're saying, hey, if you use Unity LevelPlay, there is going to be either a deduction or a waiver onto these runtime installation fees, these runtime fees.
It's not a rumor. Back to just now the Q&A page, they actually have stated there.
Oh, okay, really? So
it's just that they didn't mention how much the discount you get, but they did say that you can get a discount.
Right. Let me just bring it back up and let's take a quick look. Yeah. So where is it? Oh yeah, can I get a discount on the Unity runtime fee? Here we are. Yep. So it says here, qualifying customers may be eligible for credits on the Unity runtime fee. So it's credits on the Unity runtime fee based on the adoption of Unity services beyond the editor, meaning that it's beyond the normal game development editor, right? Such as Unity gaming services or Unity LevelPlay mediation, which I assume is for their ad revenue generation.
Yeah.
Right. For mobile ad-supported games, so therefore, right? So this program enables deeper partnership with Unity to succeed across the entire game lifecycle. Please reach out to your account manager to learn more. For details on Unity LevelPlay, please contact your account manager for ad monetization or contact sales here about ad monetization. So so what it actually sounds like, if you take that into context, what it sounds like is that Unity is saying that, hey, all this while, we have allowed you to build on our platform, and we've allowed you the freedom to choose your monetization method. So we have our own, you can choose your own monetization method if you don't like ours. Now they're saying that if you choose to go with your own, you still have to pay us a fee, is what they're saying. And basically they're changing and saying oh yeah, I don't care if you find monetization somewhere else and everything else, one way or another, I want you to pay us some part of that extra money wherever you're getting it from. And somehow they are assuming that you always get money somewhere in between. It sounds like that. Okay. Not fantastic. Okay. Yeah. Man, yeah, we're coming to the end of 90 minutes, and it's definitely it's sort of clear where Unity's plans really are right now at this rate, where it's clear that it seems clear, and I'm waiting for like proof to say otherwise, obviously, right? That that they want to try and improve their bottom line, meaning that they want to cover for like they want to improve their like revenue and all that kind of stuff. And the only way they could figure out how to do that is basically to sort of force you into their ecosystem. At least this is what I'm hearing. Because if I'm not mistaken, and I think I sort of glimpsed this somewhere, is that the Unity like LevelPlay and their ad monetization system, there is a revenue share system in place, meaning that if you get money off their ad monetization system, it's going to be some for them, some for you kind of situation.
If that, I'm not sure.
Okay, I if you're not sure, maybe I must have misread it. So if someone sees otherwise, please let me know. But this is at least what I was skimming through in terms of like their ad monetization for LevelPlay and stuff like that. It seems to be the case. So what if you really take everything in summary and everything as a giant piece, right? It does seem like they seem to be saying, hey, you've been paying for Unity upfront. And then what happens is that we also know like a lot of people are earning billions and billions of dollars off like Unity. So what happens is that we want a portion of that sales. Either you give it to us through a portion of your installations, that basically is proportionate to your installations, or if you earn it off ads inside our own internal ecosystem, I want a portion of those ads. It's basically what the new ecosystem that Unity is trying to push on us. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Just how we keep mentioning about the 20 cents, I think it has to be fair that we also need to mention the 20 cents is for the standard region.
Right.
For other engaging market, it's only 2 cents.
Right. I think that's fair. I couldn't find the list somehow. I can't find the list anymore.
It's inside the Q&A also.
It's also in the Q&A. Let me look for that list because I do want to bring it up because I felt that list was very interesting. Let me try and see what I can find it. Where is it? Oh, right, here we are. Okay, here, I found it. All right, let me just bring it back up. I think it's very, very relevant. It's very, very interesting. Okay, so exactly here. So it says here, which countries do the standard fees apply to, and which countries do the emerging market fees apply to? We're being very nice. We're just saying that we're poor. Standard fee applies to app installs in the United States, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Japan, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, South Korea, and the United Kingdom. Emerging markets apply to app installs on all other countries. So they're very, very specific in the sense that like it's these groups of countries and everything else. Notably excluded is Singapore. I
don't remind them to add Singapore.
I feel like I had to say that only because of one very silly reason. It's because the Singapore dollar is stronger than the Japanese yen.
No, it's not the money value. It's the buying power.
Oh, right. Okay, that's fair.
How much people willing to spend for buying a game or buy in-app purchase.
Right. So basically, how much your average your ARPU that you were mentioning earlier, how much is the average ARPU is going to be per user in that space? I have very, very outdated data. I know that back in the late 2010s, the ARPU for Singaporeans were about, I think, $1 something, like, and that's in dollars. So it's like $1 something, or anywhere between $1 to $3 per user, which is, I considered every user in Southeast Asia is pretty low. It's less than that, because Singapore's had the highest one. But yeah, which is also why the average cost for acquisition of users here in Singapore is actually much, much higher as well in comparison. The cost per user acquisition, if I'm not mistaken, was at least $1 something back in the late 2010s kind of thing. So yeah. sorry, I think as Alex mentioned, like it's worth noting in all fairness to make sure that everyone has full picture, right? So basically, like it's the standard rates that was described, right, is this 20 cents here, that is like 20 cents per install. And if you go down, and this is once again for Unity Personal and Unity Plus, and I mean by 2024 it's going to be just Unity Personal. It's just it's only 2 cents per new install. Basically, it's about 10% of what the original expected cost was supposed to be, or the prescribed cost is supposed to be. On Unity Pro, it's only 1 cent per install. Unity Enterprise is going to be 0.05 cents per install. It's like even less than like 1 cent per install. So in effect, like 1,000 new installs only cost you $1 for emerging markets. I'm going to talk. I do when we're discussing this, I do want to talk about like the elephant in the room, obviously, because we're all game designers. Obviously, we know how to game systems. This is definitely going to create a lot of moments for. I don't know. I feel it's very weird, right? Because I want to say that it's going to create a lot of moments where people are just going to start looking at these emerging markets more than they already do. People already look at emerging markets because obviously, like, hey, the US is like heavily saturated and the competition is insane and all that kind of stuff, right? So your potential return for investment is for your marketing costs and everything else is, so like people like to look into like blue oceans and stuff like that, all that kind of stuff. I feel like this complicates things even more. Like I honestly, Alex, based on at least your experiences, right? Do you think that this would improve interest in emerging markets, or do you think that this would negatively impact interest in emerging markets because of like the potential gains just don't match?
I don't have an answer for this. Because let's say in the emerging market we have is it might not affect us much on this, since the price is 2 cents, and then for us, because our money value is small, so the 200,000 threshold, it means 1 million to us. And if you actually subscribe to Pro, the threshold is at 1 million. So for us is
basically 4 million.
4.5, yeah,
4 point
5
something.
million.
Yeah, 4 point something.
5 million.
Yeah.
So and this figure is actually refreshed every 12 months.
Yeah.
So it's not lifetime for this product. You have earned 5 million. It's every year to you.
Right.
Every 12 months do you earn 5 million.
Right.
So yeah, not easy to hit this figure for us.
I guess in that context, then it sounds. This is interesting, right? Because like based on at least what this sounds like and how this might impact developers in the most interesting manner, right, is that potentially Unity will be used by low currency is more like developers based in low currency.
You can see there's a lot of developers already sharing their announcement, making announcement. We want to quit Unity, or my next game don't want to use Unity, or my not yet launched game, I'm going to spend another 1 year switch into other platforms. You can see all of them is from Europe, from US.
All the Southeast Asia guys are like, sure, whatever.
No, got the one that from Indonesia got mentioned.
Okay.
The one that from Indonesia, he also got voice out that lots of trust on this.
Right, so it's a trust issue at least for so some of those.
Yeah, it's a trust issue, but those that company at Europe or US, it's not only trust issue. It's like they are thinking that you want to make me bankrupt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
because to them it actually is a thing. It's a very it's a much lower barrier.
Yes. For us, a lot of people say trust, just trust.
Yeah, I think so. I was going to get there because I think, Alex, you brought up a very interesting thing that I never even thought of, and honestly we never even discussed it prior to this. It's fascinating that like because the charges are based off USD, the lower your national currency value is to the USD, the in theory the cheaper this is going to be. Like, or rather, the harder it is for you to achieve the thresholds, because without reaching those thresholds, those earning thresholds, right, you just wouldn't be charged these things at all. So potentially, it's just going to push interest to use Unity, right, to these kind of low-income countries as well.
Or because for us, we are just a developer. We only can think about it from our own perspective,
right,
or from the companies or from the game studio that we are in communicate with, in touch with. So let's say me, the people that in my network circle, it's not that big. But for Unity, right, they have the data. I believe they actually go into their data. They can actually find out that what game actually earn a lot, what game that in which country actually make a fortune, and then they doesn't need to really spend a lot. So they should have the data, and then they should, I believe they are targeting those people.
Right.
That's why they actually quite confident that don't worry, don't panic. This new payment term, 95% of the developer is not affected. So for them, they are confident to put a statement that 95% developer not affected,
right,
because they have the data. They know who is actually affected.
Right. Right. But here's the. I mean, So what you're saying is that at least that this is a very calculated move on Unity's behalf, and in the sense that like they think that because most people won't be affected, this terms technically most people won't care about this change of terms. So they somehow sorry, go ahead.
Still, I think it's not affected doesn't mean that I still trust you.
Right, exactly, right. Which is exactly what we were talking about earlier about the trust factor, right? So this was and I do want to talk about we were supposed to do this for 90 minutes, so we're getting to the 90-minute threshold right now. So as a last topic, and since we brought up the trust issue, I do want to talk about like the kind of fussy behaviors that Unity has sort of done up that I think has not improved the situation. So I want to highlight according to Kotaku, I've linked the article in the description for this video. For this live stream. According to Kotaku, the Unity bosses actually sold like 2,000. Some of the Unity bosses actually like sold like 2,000 shares just before this announcement. It seems that it's clear that they were more or less like knowing that this was going to result in like a drop in their price, because it literally did. The stock price is just because it did. I don't know. I feel it's really, really shady. Because this is sort of very. I know it's not insider trading, but like it's like borderline. I mean, it just sounds pretty.
I don't know how to draw the line.
Yeah, exactly, right. It certainly feels like it's on that line, right? So I there's no part of that feels comfortable. That's number one. And then number two, it's worth noting as well, like according to an article by Gamer Braves, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's Gamer Braves. They've actually like mended their TNCs on GitHub months ahead of this. Basically, I think in March, they amended it already. They started amending it. So basically, based on that, it seems that in March, there are signs that starting from March, they were already planning for something like this. They were like, pretty much in the works that this was going to happen. Yeah, and to be clear, what was the TNCs that they adjusted, right, was this very simple and very interesting TNC that, calling back to the Dungeons & Dragons issues that I mentioned earlier, it's literally the same clause that they had. What they changed in the Unity TNCs, right, was that the TNCs that specifically said the version of the TNCs that you are using when you first started building your Unity, your game on, the version of that Unity that you're built on, will be the TNCs that's applicable to that game, right? Yeah, so I believe that was roughly the language that was used. So basically, if you didn't update your Unity when you finish your game, you are going to be using that same TNCs. That means the one that doesn't include the runtime fees, right? Now they remove the term, and now you can't find it. So if you update your Unity now, automatically that you're going to use this new TOC's terms of service that will impose the runtime fee to you, right? So obviously this is super duper shady, and there are people who are saying they're questioning whether it's even legal or not, for obvious reasons, because you're quietly and without like the consent, like when you install agreement, you say I've read the terms and conditions and I agree, right? So you don't have that from anybody, right? And if you try to impose it, what happens, right? And the funny thing is, and this is the crazier part, right, is that Alex, do you think any of the games companies are just going to come up and start suing Unity for like pulling this bullshit?
But definitely not in our country or our neighbor country.
Not in Southeast Asia,
right. So, but I'm not sure on other like US whether they can do that.
Yeah, it definitely sounds super shady, right? Yeah. For anyone who wants to, please go check out the links inside the description below. I've actually provided a lot of links for reference, and I've also included, for anyone who's interested, a link to Unreal Engine's TNCs as well. Like basically it uses TNCs, or is very similar to FAQ that is being listed in for Unity as well. Unreal puts up very, very clearly that it's free and it's based on revenue sharing from day one kind of thing. So you only start paying Unreal after the first million you earn. They don't care about the number of downloads that you have. I'm not paid by Unreal to say this, but I do want to highlight that it is a contrast to what Unity is doing right now, because Unity's model, as it has been explained through this session so far, right, has always been in the past, pay us a monthly fee, you can develop whatever you want as a result, and then if you earn money from it, good for you kind of thing. Like it doesn't affect us at all. What we are going to be affected, our bottom line is defined by you who are paying for our subscription, right? That is the original Unity promise. And then on top of that, they said, hey, yeah, also on top of that, we're providing this bunch of services. If you use these services in addition to your subscription, then you're going to earn more money, and we're going to take a cut of that extra money that you're going to get from through us, right? So you work with us to get more money, we're going to take a little bit of that cut of that money that you're going to get with us. That was the Unity promise. What they've effectively done with this runtime fee thing is basically saying, I don't care whether you make money, as long as the app that you have installed by using our platform, we want some money from that. As long as somebody installs your app, I want some money from that. How exactly that is counted, how exactly I'm going to bill, how exactly, like whatever number is going to come up, whatever else there is, like I'm sorry, too bad you can't see. Like you can't justify it, you can't argue with us over it, how we calculate all this kind of thing. But however, if you think that you have been unjustly charged, you can come and talk to us. This is basically the summary of the FAQ, I feel. Right? Yeah, so I think this is where the heart of the problem really is. And this is actually why a lot of devs are really, really unhappy and really, really just really, really aggravated over the whole thing.
But sometimes when we talk about, because this incident, a lot of people bring up is the trust issue. So, but when we say trust, sometimes trust is two-sided.
Yeah.
It's not I trust you and then you also have to trust me. So we keep talking about developer lost trust on
Unity,
the platform owner.
Yeah.
So it's the Unity.
Right.
Okay, the engine owner. But let's say try to think the other way around. Maybe this move is because the engine owner also lost trust on developer.
Okay, so let's play the devil's advocate a little bit. We're going to extend time a little bit and play the devil's advocate a little bit. What do you mean by that?
So, because let's say I'm the engine owner, just assuming now I'm thinking I'm the engine owner. I have this free plan. So I want everyone's success, then only I get part of your revenue, part of your money, so that you please subscribe to my pro license. Let's say before this runtime kick in. So if you earn enough, you have success, please subscribe to our pro license. But the question is, how many of them really subscribe?
Right.
And then second is, let's say they subscribe, how many seats they actually subscribe? So it's also similar to other software like our 3D modeling software or the painting, 2D painting software. It's supposed to be one developer, one license, one seat. So, but at the end, to all the, I'm not saying there is a lot of honest developers. No, I'm not putting that. It's just that to everyone, including me myself, really buy all the seats for all individual seats. Right? Let's say you have 10 developers, you buy 10 seats.
Right.
If you have 50 developers, those studios that really big, 50 developers, do they buy 50 seats?
Right.
So I think those established companies, they definitely buy.
Obviously, if you can afford it, you don't care already, right? But like
but for those that small or for those that stay nearby us, so you need to actually, it's honest how they track us, right?
Yeah.
You actually have a studio at Thailand, or you have a studio at Cambodia inside a village. I have 10 person, but I buy one license now. I don't want to. I got 10 developer. I buy one license now.
Right.
So something like that. So sometimes let's just try to think another way around.
Right. So
we lost trust. Developer lost trust on the engine owner.
Right.
So is it also now the time that engine owner lost trust on the developer? So they put something out that I definitely can trust you on this. You cannot run away. It's a runtime piece.
Right. So here's the funny thing, right? And I once again extending the time just to play the devil's advocate, right? This really comes back to a conversation of how this is done, right? Because to be fair to the process, like I feel like this thing really could have been done as a conversation with developers. You know what I mean? Like it could have been.
There's a lot better way to handle this.
Correct.
You want to change, it's okay, but it's not overnight happen.
Exactly, and not done in this way where it is so badly thought out. Like the communication of it is so badly thought out. At the very least, right? Like you were saying, like, hey, no, we know. Like you said, like some of the internal voices which we can't name, clearly know the issues involved, and they've discussed it, and they know like what the quote unquote solutions are supposed to be, right? But like none of them were part of this process of communicating it outside of Unity, and like that itself, right, should say something. That itself should be a thing that like, hey, Unity, you really should have came out, talked to everyone, and like at least at the very least, right, like manage it in such a way that says, hey, we're going to talk to you guys. We need to improve our bottom line because, hey, we're trying to do these kind of things and we're not able to, like, it's getting harder and harder for us to, you know, to keep things up for you, and we want to provide the same services for you and everything else, right? So that is a conversation that should have been had. Unfortunately, they chose not to have that conversation with the developers and try to impose these kind of things.
Yeah. You see, it's really the way of presentation.
Right.
So when you visit their blog post, right?
Yeah.
The first thing you read is a big graph about this is the new chart.
Right.
And then at the bottom only mention that, oh, now our other service is more free.
Right.
And all this stuff. If you present it the way that now we promote all this service to you free, previously we free for you first, then only mention about this, then the way of me reading also different. Right,
exactly. So I have it on screen right now, and just for everyone's note, right, like literally the first paragraph here in highlights is that effective January 1st, 2024, we will introduce a new Unity runtime fee, as though it's the good thing, right? that's based on game installs. We will also add cloud-based asset storage, Unity developers, and AI at runtime, and no extra cost and Unity subscription plans this November. So it's like, hey, bad news first.
Yeah, correct.
And then here's the stuff that you will gain, that kind of thing. I really question this. But having said that, Alex, I really don't think that, given everything that we've discussed today, like we've obviously talked about trust a lot. Everything that we've discussed today, I think the negative impacts and the complications involved in companies that have made active considerations for their projects, right, by choosing Unity. Like I personally, on my side of the fence on this thing, right, I do feel that this is just plain out wrong in so many different ways. I think the big thing that for me was sort of the deal breaker, right? Like the thing that sort of tipped me into having this opinion more than anything else was really that whole, hey, we're going to change our TOS and retroactively apply our TOS, our terms of service. I think that one, more than anything else, split the middle finger to every developer who's currently developing using Unity. Because I think if they didn't do that and say, like, yeah, we're going to, like, oh, hey, yeah, your project that's like 6 months in, 2 years in, or 3 years in, or whatever shit there is, right? Like all these projects, if they went and said, yeah, if you've developed with Unity all this while, we're going to keep these things that you have kept, you know? We're only going to apply this to projects that are started from this date, you know, and things like that, or starting from this date. I think a lot of the things that we're discussing right now, right, won't be relevant. Like all the concerns that we're talking about, right, a lot of the things that we're talking about, like that 95% that they are talking about will truly be that 95%. You know, that everyone else who had their livelihoods planned with their projects that they have placed in so far will be safe from all of this. You know, their investments, all the things they discussed with their investors, the people who have thrown in money to try and make their games come, or their dreams come alive, and things like that. I'm trying very hard not to use this kind of like very nice language in part because I still want to try and be a bit neutral. But at the end of the day, a lot of us game designers are kind of dreamers as well. I think it's a bit hard to avoid saying this. But yeah, like all this kind of stuff, there's a lot of hard work put into it over the course of a lot of years. And this sudden change is actually what like makes it really difficult for a lot of people. Yeah. I think one of the big things that we brought up also as well, and I just keep coming back to this kind of situation, this particular situation, right, is because charging per installs effectively put this situation where, say for example, right, I want to do a big promo. I say, hey, I'm a new MMO, for example, right? I'm a new MMO. I want to get critical mass because MMOs without critical mass just kind of suck, right? So I want to get critical mass. So what I'm going to do, right, is that I'm going to say the first 1 million installs is going to be free. That, right, automatically, right, can cost me anywhere right now from like 1 million installs is roughly about, if you times by 0.02 is roughly about 500,000. 20% is it's 1 million. Yeah, actually, it's very simple. It's basically it's already 200,000, right? So it's anywhere between 200,000. Like on the higher end, it's going to be $200,000. On the low end, it's going to be like, is it 20,000? Yeah, about roughly 20,000 or something like that dollars, right? Roughly that. And if it's on the super low end, it's going to be $2,000 because it's just emerging markets pricing, right? And I think to coming back to the thing that you were saying earlier, like the gap between $2,000 paid to Unity to $200,000 paid to Unity, how is anyone going to project that in their ROIs and their P&Ls, right? It just complicates business structure completely. There's no way you can sort of plan out how you're going to, like, what your highs and lows are going to be, and like how is this going to work for most of us? Yeah. So in summary, it's just really fucked up in so many different ways. A small side note, I'm going to rate this stream PG-13, and according to American rules, I'm allowed to one F-bomb. So that was it.
Okay.
American cinema rules for like PG-13 movies allows one F-bomb.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
So
see.
it's a question of where you drop it. And I think I just used mine. Anyway, so yeah, so I think we're running a little late. We're already, it's 12:43 already. We've run past the 90-minute mark that I promised. Alex has promised me. But so thank you very much, Alex, for your time, and thank you everyone who has joined us so far. I do apologize for all the weird issues that we had. I'm still warming up myself, and I've recognized that myself, I've been stuttering a little bit. The topics kind of got all over the place, and the flow is like really problematic. I swear I'll do better. This is just me getting too excited about this topic. Although it's a really shitty topic to get excited about.
Oh yeah, just
Oh yes,
to
yes.
share that. Oh yeah, just
Yeah.
want to share that.
Yeah.
We are not here to share negative feeling.
Yeah, right.
So this is important, even though we actually talk about this new term, but doesn't mean that we actually hate it or anything. Like off mic I share to I have used Unity for 12 years. So on and off, I also subscribe to Pro license, Plus license. I'm not always subscribed, so when there's a need, then I subscribe. So when it expired, and then there's a need, then I subscribe to Plus, and then sometimes I subscribe to Pro, so I on and off subscribe. So, and because of Unity, I also managed to earn a living based on this technology. So I actually appreciate that. And also because of Unity being to be stable until now, so I managed to continue using the same technology, the same knowledge for 12 years. Before this, I actually keep switching between technology because all this platform doesn't last long.
Right.
Like I mentioned to you previously, I do Flash game, I use Adobe Flash. After I need to still learn Adobe Flash, Script 3, and then after I pick up the skill set, and then I only can use it for 5 years. Because after that, then the technology retired. So no everyone go into HTML5. No one wants to use Adobe Flash anymore. Okay, so and this is just one of it. Like previously, I also did programming in C++, and then we released game on as an EXE on all these game launching platforms. No, but all this also doesn't really last 10 years. It's like every 3 to 5 years I have to pick up a new skill. Every 3 to 5 years I pick up a new skill. So because of Unity, I have 11 years that using the same technology that keep enhance my skill set inside the same technology. So this actually is a fortune to me as a programmer. So so just to bring out that I just still appreciate that this company and then this engine. So not saying that now suddenly one night he become evil. It's just that we want to discuss the fact that it actually affects somebody.
Right. So I want to put it. This is exactly a proof of how how rusty I am as a presenter. Because the silly part is all cards on the table. I pre-discussed with Alex on how the flow of this talk was supposed to go, and that was supposed to be part of our starter. And I just stumbled our starter completely so badly that I just jumped right in. So the fact is that Alex's history is very much the reason why I really wanted him to be in this talk. Given his history with Unity and all that kind of stuff, and a history as a programmer, it's 19 years in programming, 12 years with Unity, right? So just to reframe everything that you've been listening for this last 1.5 hours, right? It's the simple fact that the reality of Unity, right, has been a good thing. And a lot of people have not only appreciated the good that Unity has brought into the industry, but also like that promise that Unity stands for. That belief that, hey, because Unity has remained stable in in its promises and all that kind of stuff, with some pricing adjustments, right? With some pricing adjustments, as I said, like from the 2016 to the current pricing, there's a shift from like what was it, $125 to $185, roughly kind of thing. For enterprise, I think, was it?
For Pro.
Pro, exactly, for Pro. So that kind of price difference. It's not to say that like Unity hasn't like increased its prices and all that kind of stuff, but like this sudden change is not as small as it looks like on face value, and people within the industry are very clear-headed about what it means to them, because we know how the industry works, right? This is actually what this talk is really about. It really is about how, like, it really is to explore like the extent of how silly all of this is. We've used words that are, honestly, depending on where you're coming from, it betrays how serious the issue is, because for some studios it can be very, very big. You know, the impact is very, very big, and it can literally mean, like, as some people have put out there, it's so bad that they don't know how to manage their finances anymore as a result, you know, that kind of thing. And as per the illustrations, the examples we've given so far as well, like there's potential cases where any potential profit is just completely taken up by this runtime fee, you know. There are some cases where, like the one that I just brought up, like where if you're a marketing guy, right, like, are you going to put in $2,000 to accommodate for new users, or $200,000 to put on new users? Like, that's massive, right? Because you don't know where the users are going to come from, and they're going to be installing from all over the world. Are game devs now expected to say, oh, I don't have the budget? No, North America users, you go home, you go far, far away from me, because I don't have the budget to accommodate you downloading my game for free. You know, stuff like that. So you have these kind of crazy adjustments to how we look at how we're going to monetize our game, and like how we're going to make a living off doing this wonderful thing that we all love doing. And it's just from this very simple 20 cents per install policy that Unity has imposed. And once again, we've talked about matter of trust, but very, very practical reasons, it's pretty bad. Like trust aside, even for very practical reasons, it's just really, really bad. So while I know what Alex has said, like Alex himself has tried to remain very, very neutral about this whole thing, because someone of his tenure and his experience, he has seen things change. I think Alex has brought up an example last time about Adobe and how they have changed their pricing models over time, right? But it's something that I have argued with Alex over, because for Adobe, while the pricing model has changed over time, it's always a different product, and the newest product is the one that they've effectively changed the terms on, the largest, which is based on the subscription model. The old products that if you had, you bought, right, you would still have and you can still use without, you know, the subscription model and all that kind of stuff. So for a lot of us who've been buying Adobe, like last time, right, when we first bought Adobe for the first time, like that terms and conditions hasn't changed. In contrast, Unity is actually changing that now. Like, they're retroactively changing that. Like, even if you developed the game 10 years ago, this will now apply to you. You know? And that's the problem. This is fundamentally the problem. So I want to make it clear that this isn't just a few developers. One big reason why I'm so like gung-ho about this topic is because I think, like, one thing that a lot of the news is talking about is like how a lot of developers, the current active developers, have affected. But I think what stories that we're missing, and one of the reasons why I have this channel, is to talk about all these kind of threads that join us, right? The lines that join us. And Alex, which is like, he doesn't work for like this kind of big time AAA companies who are using Unity. He doesn't work for MiHoYo and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, for him, right, Alex, yourself, you've told me before, like, you're not affected by this at all, right? But because you have been someone who has been actively like helped teach people Unity and like resolve questions for Unity, you've been a consultant to some degree, if I'm not mistaken, for Unity. like, for people who are looking to use Unity, right? Not Unity, the company itself, but like people who are looking to use Unity, right?
Yes.
Like, because of all of that, right? Like, this change is, you can see this potential change and how it affects a lot of people that you've helped and a lot of people that you've taught, and it can potentially spell even longer term issues down the line. So yeah, so this is actually where this conversation is really starting from, and the context of this conversation really should have been the starter for this, but I kind of fumbled it. I'm so sorry once again. So if I could edit this on YouTube, I literally would just horrible. I need to improve my presentation skills, but this is just a horrible start. But anyway, so thank you everyone who's been bearing with me so far. But yes, I also, before we go, and once again we've extended the time like almost by another half an hour already, I want to make one last mention, because I've started closing the thing, but I do want to mention one last thing, and that is a very interesting TNC inside the FAQ thing that I brought it up to Alex before, and it's about what they consider to be non-gaming applications impacted by it. I think it's worth noting that both of us don't have enough information to comment on it too deeply. We just want to bring it up for everyone's attention, right? So very specifically, how are non-gaming applications impacted by the Unity runtime fee? Very specifically, they say the Unity runtime fee does not apply to our film. Basically things like, for example, if you're using Netflix or Nebula or anything else like that, if that's built on Unity, you are not, the runtime fee is not going to be affected by it, right? If Disney Plus uses Unity, I'm not sure if they do, they're not going to be charged for it, right? But here's the thing: gambling or education. I feel like putting gambling right in the middle is very intentional. Like they're trying to hide it in between. But is film gambling or education subscription plans at this time? Now, I can understand film, because hey, film usually when you do, there's a subscription model for them, and it's kind of weird. It really is one of those kind of odder ones. I really think I disagree that if they're going to do this runtime fee thing, I disagree that film should be an exception. It's a judgment call in there, and I think that's a very different discussion. Education makes a lot of sense simply because, hey, for education, if you're making an educational program, it makes sense that Unity as a company wants to say, hey, I want to support education and stuff like that, so it can become an exception, right? But the middle one in particular stood out for me, which is gambling. Now, Alex, you had mentioned to me before, like, to get to use Unity for gambling apps, right? Like apps, there is a special process for it.
No, you have to get a different license.
Different license for it.
Yeah,
so it's not the Pro, it's not the Plus, it's not all that.
It's not the Enterprise. It's another license. It's
another license altogether. Yeah. And the only way to get this license is to contact Unity themselves. Is it? Is that right?
Correct. If you go to their website, you couldn't find any detailed information. You have to contact the salesperson, contact the project manager.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, it's this really weird carved out exception, because I was telling Alex, like, outside, how, like, it seems really weird because gambling is the one that earns the most amount of money, and if you follow Unity's like statement on this adjustment, this price adjustment, is that they say like, hey, if you get more installs, if your project gets bigger, right, I want a piece of that pie, right? That's what Unity is effectively saying, right? Then why not gambling? Right? So it seems really weird that gambling has become, is stated as part of the exceptions. The fact that it's written out here is very interesting in its own way, but I think we just don't have enough information to comment on it too deeply. We can only speculate, which I think everyone else who's listening can do on their own. I don't want to add to it too much. But yeah, yes. Anyways, okay, so it's almost 1 a.m. where we're at right now, so let's call it a night. We don't have any additional questions, so that's fine. I'm a small channel anyway, but thank you very much, Alex, for spending the time with me to talk over this issue. This is a developing issue. I do think that sooner or later we'll need to do another follow-up on this one. As I mentioned to Alex also before, and I've reached out. Alex isn't the only person I've reached out to. I have a friend who is a publisher. I'm very interested in hearing from him as well on how this affects his work as well, because I like how me and Alex we've covered it as well. That like we don't really know how they're going to build potential publishers as well, right? Or how publishers are going to factor in potential this runtime fee that they rightfully have to pay, like rightfully according to Unity is going to be charged to them, are going to deal with all of this and how this factors into their consideration for taking on projects and things like that, right? So this is going to be an ongoing and developing issue, and for me personally, I'm hoping that we can use this opportunity to shed some light into the business of game dev. And I hope everyone who's been listening has at least manages to learn something along the way. But yeah, so thank you very much, Alex, for your time and sharing and all this kind of things, and obliging this old friend of mine, this old friend of yours, because yeah, like we've been friends for so long and we haven't caught up for so long, and this was like, hey, let's do this. All right then. All right. Till the next time then, Alex, and thank you guys. Thank you everyone for joining us. We're looking forward to the next time we do. Oh, by the way, I probably won't be streaming later this weekend. I know I usually do a Sunday gaming stream, but my PC's having trouble, as I said, and I'm seriously worried that it might explode if I try to stream anything too difficult. Like I've been streaming Baldur's Gate, by the way, and it's eating up my graphics card. I suspect Baldur's Gate is the reason why my PC's been hanging. So yeah, so skipping that for this weekend. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the following weeks after that. Till then, patas.